Hey guys, welcome to the Dragon's Voice podcast. And I don't know how far this is going with this podcast. You know, I'm going places now. For some of you who've been watching it, it's been breaking through in South Wales, North Wales. It's broken out in England, but now I'm trying to break out into America because now hailing from coming from the United States of America, Oklahoma. It's none other than I'd say a fellow South Wales guy. You know, he's from Bridgend. I'm from Barry. It's just a train ride, but it's none other than Jonathan Brown. John, how's it going over there?
Oh, good, Reece. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries, Bob.
To join you.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. I looked into the research and everything, you know, and the whole point of this podcast is that is trying to celebrate Welsh football. And I know there's loads of football podcasts out there, including Peter Crouch's, you know, Under the Cosh, which I absolutely love. Fair play to those guys. But I thought, let's get Welsh football out there in some aspects. And then I was looking all over the place. And normally people have been asking me about get Wales internationals on there, you know, the big names. And I'm thinking, it's got to be important. And there's people who, you know, played for Wales into 21s. All right, they never got to the first team or anything, but they've got stories to tell. There's, you know, loads of names in the Welsh Premier League. There's loads of names in America as well. So, I mean, I thought we could start off. Let's start off with Oklahoma Energy FC first before we go on to, you know, when you were at Cardiff and everything. So Oklahoma Energy, I know we were just quickly talking about it and everything, right? So you had from what I've seen, is one great career. You know, you've gone to all these countries. You played in Belgium, Bangladesh, and you played in all over, basically around the world. How did the transfer occur for you to go to America to play for Oklahoma Energy?
Kind of just through contacts. Another fellow Welsh person that was playing for Wrexham at the time, who's in Oklahoma right now, a guy called Gareth Evans, was at Wrexham. I was playing in Asia at the time, and I was just desperate to come to America. I wanted to come here for a long time. I could see the growth of football, soccer over here, and but I didn't have any contacts, and that's the difficult thing in football. A lot of people move places because of the contacts through agents or players they played against before or played with. I didn't really know, or I didn't think I knew anybody over here. And then I just remember one day, I think Gaz Evans had popped something up on social media, and I thought, there's a guy that I know. So I reached out to him saying, look, I'm looking to come to America. Do you know any agents or contacts over there that might be able to help? He was actually retired at the time, and he's transitioned into coaching. He coaches in the Oklahoma Energy Academy here. And he passed on the agent that he used when he was over here playing. He was here playing for a good time, 6-7 years maybe. So he passed on the agent's number. I was speaking to the agent, sent over my CV and video clips, etc. He was telling me how difficult it is to come over because there's so many players that want to come over from all around the world, and you're only allowed X amount of foreigners per team. And obviously the transfer window was different to back home and stuff. So I was just patient with it. I was playing back in Asia, and then I went home, and then one just random afternoon, the agent called me and was like, look, I've got a little tryout in Oklahoma. They like your CV, they like your footage and stuff. They spoke to a few people from back in the UK that they know, and I've played under before. And they just want to see you for a few days training, and then they'll make a decision as long as you're willing to pay your own way over. So I said, yeah, no problem. And then after 2 days, the head coach at the time, Jimmy Nielsen, who was a Danish coach, he played in Denmark, was in big teams in Denmark, national team, played in the MLS for Sporting Kansas City. And he just took a liking to me, sorted out my visa, came home, sorted that out, flew back over. And then we were out of the playoffs at the time in 2017. And we managed to have a really good end of the season, and we ended up reaching the Western Conference Finals, won on penalties in the semi-final, and then lost on penalties in the final. Obviously I had to work my way into the team because I was coming into a team that had already been playing however many games, and there was only 12 or 15 games left of that season. So I started off on the bench, and then I worked my way into the starting 11. I started in the final, then in the playoffs. So that was a fun experience.
Do you know with Haylett, because I've experienced some of this when I went on holiday to Florida, and I've only been to the States only once, and I was in Orlando. And I don't know about yourself, but I've had this experience, and I've heard a few other experiences. But because of Wales and because of the geography terms of, you know, a lot of foreigners, not just in America, but there's some other countries out there that think Wales is, you know, part of England or is part of this other thing, right? Did you, when you got there and they said, oh, he's from Wales and everything, did you ever get that kind of, I could call it like a cliche of coming from America? It's like, oh, is it in England? Is it in that? Did you have that? Oh,
yeah, so definitely did. Yeah, a few times. A lot of people don't know where it is. They think it's just in England. A lot of people haven't heard of it. But then a lot of people that are into soccer have obviously heard of Gareth Bale. So as soon as you mention Gareth Bale, then they're like, oh yeah, okay, Wales, I know, or Ryan Giggs. But yeah, I think that's just Americans in general. There's a mad percentage of Americans that don't even own a passport because they don't even leave the country. And I didn't understand that, and I still don't understand it. But when you actually come here, and I've lived here, you don't realize how big the state is. And just from state to state, like Oklahoma, I think has got more population than Wales.
yeah.
Which I would never have thought, like living back home. And they can just do about anything. They can go, if you want a beach holiday, they've got that. If they want to go skiing, they've got Colorado. So, but yeah, I did have that a few times when I first came here asking where Wales is, and I still do as well.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it does wind me up.
Do you know what? It did wind me. I remember once, a friend of mine went over to Wales. Went over to I don't know what state it was, and he was asked a question. Now, bear in mind, he had the Wales football top on, and they were saying, "Oh, you know, the old, oh, I like your accent. Where you from? Are you from? Where you from? I love it." And he said, "Oh, I'm from Wales." And the thing they asked him was like, "Oh, are you English then?" And he went, "No, I'm Welsh." And they went, "But that's in England." And oh, and he told me that he got so angry. He said, "I'm not bloody this. I'm not bloody that. I am this and this." And in all fairness, they were just like, "Oh, we didn't know and everything." So he said in the end it worked out better because they got drunk to this little argument, and they got drunk together. It's like, yes, but it's and then, but I have been told though that there's like one state in it's Pennsylvania that they got a huge Welsh culture.
Okay.
So you could call it like a mini American Welsh.
Yeah.
Oh, sign for Pennsylvania FC, then you're in for the kill. Then you got the president. But how is it though with I know, like I said, I asked you earlier about Oklahoma because they're in the USL Championship, right? And it's not as from our point of view, it's not as simple as, you know, the simple old Premier League. And if you're relegated, you're down to the Championship or League One, League Two. So how does this structure work then for the USL Championship then?
Yeah, you're right. It is different. So obviously they've got the MLS, which is the top league over here, which again is very hard to get into unless you, especially being a foreigner. They're looking at all big names around the world. It's growing. You can obviously see they show the games back home on Sky Sports, or is it BT? I think Sky Sports. And they get very good attendances now. They've grown throughout the years. Obviously Beckham helped, Zlatan, David Villa, whoever's Gerrard when they were all coming over. But now there's more people coming over, bigger names, even when they're younger. So it's definitely growing. The standard's getting better and better every year. Like I said, the fan base, it's never going to catch up with, obviously, football in Europe. Because they're just starting out, if you like, whereas football in Europe goes back decades. But you can definitely see there's growth there. And obviously they've got the World Cup coming in 2026, which I think after that it's going to kick off even more so. So then under the MLS, you've got the USL Championship, which is the one that I'm in with my team, Oklahoma Energy FC. There's no promotion relegation, which I'll get into in a minute. And then, because obviously there's been so much growth and there's teams popping up in all different states all over the US, they've had to introduce a USL League One because there was already 34 teams in our league, and that's West and East. West Coast and East Coast, there's a load. And then obviously you've got USL League One plus MLS. So there's loads of teams coming in now. There's more coming in again. Again, with us in the USL League One, there's no promotion relegation. And that's something over here that I think is something, it's a big thing that's missing. Because you know what it's like back home, there's pressure. There's pressure on coaches, there's pressure on players. It's amazing for the fans to get promotion. Obviously, not good news if you're going to get relegated. It's obviously devastating. But there's risk involved and there's rewards at the end of it as well. Whereas here, it's just obviously we're competing in the USL Championship. Yeah, there's a trophy at the end of it. So they do it like basketball and all the other sports over here. The MLS, you can win that out regular season. But that's kind of like, yeah, you win the regular season, but then you've got to go into the playoffs. And the playoffs is the big one then. So you could finish 5th or 6th and then still win the playoffs and you win the big prize, basically. I get it, but I think promotion relegation will definitely be a route to go. Whether or not, I think that's going to take a lot of time, though. What a lot of USL clubs are pushing for, the USL Championship. There's a couple of teams that have gone in over the last few years, like in Nashville, Cincinnati's, into the MLS, where the owners have pushed and progressed their club, and then they've got to pay a lot of money then to get into the MLS. There's more going in. Sacramento's going in from our league. There's going to be more. So I guess that's the best route to get into the MLS, yeah.
But I do admire the MSL. I do admire American soccer. I'm going to call it football. It's just too late for me. I do admire their football because they're adopting a lot of the cultures across Europe. Because obviously, with your club, they're called football club. They're always adopting like New York FC, New York Red Bulls FC, and all them countries and that. But I do admire that they want to expand on it. But it's like you said, they will never compete with the likes of the culture and the standards of football in Europe. Whereas if they're trying to grow in America State, they've got to try and outgrow their American football, their baseball, and their heritage, the basketball, their sports, if you know what I mean, that they're going to be known, and they've grown, But
what I would say on that is, because I do a bit of coaching on the side over here with youth players, and I can see like how many kids now are playing football over here. And a lot of the reason as well is a lot of people are coming away from American football because of all the concussions they're getting over here. So the parents aren't wanting to push their kids into American football because of all the concussions. And I can definitely see the growth in terms of how many players now that are playing football over here. I gotta call it, when I call it football over here, they always think I'm talking about American football, and I'm like, I don't watch American football.
No, it's just if you always say, this rugby American football debate, then you're going to go on for a long time,
Of course.
Let's move on then from there. We'll probably go back to you playing for Oklahoma later on, but I always want to know, because you're from Bridgend, and Bridgend boy and everything, and I love every time. Now I'm buzzing about this, even though lockdown here is just a bit of a pain that there's no fans coming in or anything like that. But when your local team, Penabon, came up, I was absolutely over the moon, because Rhys Griffiths as manager, I had him on the show. Brilliant, such intelligent man, for football, and he should have gone so far. But he's got this plan. He's sticking to that plan, and he's doing so well with Penabon, and that not many people expected Penabon to do so well in the Welsh Premier League or the Cymru Premier. But I know it's early days. I know you're still young, and you're still playing football and everything, right? But a couple of people have asked me, because I support Barry and everything, but a few people have heard of you, and you played for Bryntirion after you left from Cardiff. But would there be a opportunity for you, if it came your way, say if Penabon came knocking on the door saying, look, would you like to come back and play? Would you ever do that? Or even possibly as a career finishing move or something like that for you?
Yeah, no, definitely open to it. I know Rhys well, and he's a great lad. A few seasons ago, when I went home in my off season, because obviously my off season's over December and part of January. So then I've spoken to him a couple of times. Can I come train with you and the team? And he's opened the door for me to go and train with them. And then he's asked me a few times, listen, if you ever come back. But I've been in a contract for a while, and we're still speaking now. Obviously, COVID's thrown everything up into the air this year. So it definitely still is a possibility. But yeah, no, I definitely would consider it. Penabon's on my doorstep back home, literally like right on my doorstep. I've done coaching there before. When I've been I suppose, in between playing professional and semi-pro. So when I was playing for Merthyr for a couple of years, I wanted to go into coaching and see if it's something that I'd want to do when I'm older. And the people at Penabont, the club, the chairman, Emlyn, helped me, give me a chance with the coaching with Penabont Academy. I think it was Swansea Development at the time. So they gave me a couple of teams and stuff to help out and see if it's something that I'd want to do in the future and pursue. And I fell into it and I loved it. And then obviously the opportunity came up to pop back to Asia. And now obviously I've been in America and I've continued the coaching on the side when I can, just managing my time. So no, it's definitely a possibility. And as you can see, the Welsh Prem is definitely growing a lot now. I know a lot of boys that are playing for Barry. A couple that were with Wales, in the Wales system with me. A couple that were in Cardiff City with me, like Keon Rafael was when we were under 14, 15. Yeah. Curtis McDonald was obviously with Cardiff with me.
Yeah.
Kane McLagan was in the Wales system with
my
me.
My guy, Kane McLagan.
Luke Cummins, there's a load there that I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. But obviously Penabont is on my doorstep, so we'll not 100% sure what my future holds, because obviously I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. These want me back for next year. So yeah, and I've always said I'd want to play as long as I can. I'm only 30. I'm turning 31 in 21. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, I like I said, if I ever do see you playing for the Penabontian, I would be in the stand when I see you, and I would be like, I knew it right there and then. I spoken to him. I knew it. But with Penabont, obviously, they weren't a club that they only started a few years ago, because you're the former, Bryntirion Athletic player, because obviously there were two teams in Bridgend. You had Bridgend Town FC, and then you had Bryntirion Athletic. And in all fairness, I saw, I don't know if I saw you years ago back then, because I know it was 2009 or something like that you played for them. But I've always said that Bryntirion, every time Barry have gone to play that team, it's always a challenge. And I'll just tell you a very quick story there. But I remember, I think it was Division 1. Barry were in it, and it was around about the rough times for Barry. But we had to play Bryntirion back to back. So we were playing them on a Saturday, then we're going to have to play them on the Tuesday. And I remember so clearly that we lost 6-1 at Bryntirion's ground. But then when we came back and played Bryntirion, we won 6-0. And all we kept chanting, and there was only 15 of us of the supporters at that time, and before everything got back to normal. But we were just saying, I can't remember what channel it was. I think we chanted, "We won 7-6, we won 7-6," just as if it was a little aggregate moment. But what was it like for you when you played for Bryntirion back then?
Yeah, that was a strange one, because obviously I was with Cardiff. I had the 1 year pro. I was on the bench for quite a while in the Championship, a good number of times. Was in the FA Cup final squad. Came off the bench a couple of times in the Championship to make my debut, and then the following season, I was on the bench for a while, and then obviously people started getting back fit, the strikers. So the people who were ahead of me at the time when they were playing me as a forward. Since then, I've hardly played forward. I've been more of a winger. Played all over, to be honest with you, right back, midfield. But back then, when I was playing as a forward for Cardiff, I had the likes of Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Robbie Fowler, Bothroyd, Ross McCormack, Chopra. They were all there. So there was no chance when they were all fit that I was going to get a sniff. And then the opportunity came to go on loan to Wrexham with Dean Saunders, who knew me through the Wales system. I went there just after Joe Allen was there. Neil Taylor was there at the time. And I loved it. I initially signed for the first month, played like 6 games, so it was new to me playing in front of fans, instead of being on the bench for Cardiff, or not even on the bench, and then going to play a reserve game at Leckwith in front of nobody. It was what I wanted. Like 3 points mattered. I was only 18 at the time, so it was perfect for me for my career to develop. Stayed there till the end of the year, and then when I came back, then obviously all those forwards are still there, and then Dave Jones at the time just said, "Yeah, we're not going to offer you something new." So then I left, and then that summer, then I found it hard. I messed up. I did, because Wrexham were offering me, Dean Saunders offered me to stay, And then my agent felt that, obviously I was young, I was only 18, 19. My agent felt that he could get something better in League One, League Two, and then nothing materialised. And then Wrexham budget was all done; they were full up with their squad. So I was literally their pre-seasons were all starting, or at the end of pre-season, the seasons were about to start, and I had nothing. So I was panicking. I didn't know what to do, and I was like, "I've got to play somewhere. I've got to keep fit." So then I knew, obviously, the chairman at Bryntirion at the time, and that was Benabont. I knew the coach, I knew a couple of the boys that were playing there, just through school. And I said, "Can I come and train?" So I trained with them for about a couple of months, or 6 weeks, whatever it was. And then they like, "Look, do you want to sign a non-contract just so you get some games? And then once you're done, you can, if you find something, then you can leave." And I signed a non-contract just week to week, basically, just to get some games. Ended up playing, I don't know how many games it was under 10 though. Played a handful of games, and then an opportunity came up in Australia. But I loved the time at Bryntirion. They were fab with me. All the staff, the chairman, they were obviously wanted me to stay, but they knew that I was looking elsewhere. I appreciated their time and helping me out at the same time as well.
Do you know when you, just funny enough, you were mentioning Australia then, because you went there for, what were they called, the Central Coast or something like that? Yeah.
Mariners, yeah.
Yeah, because you went to Australia, then you went to Belgium at that point, and but all these countries, I mean, I seen some of them like Australia, Belgium, Bangladesh, Thailand on 2 occasions. Some of these countries, what was it like for you to be traveling to all those countries? Did you think to yourself, I mean, it must have been mad for you to be traveling to all these countries to play football.
Yeah, like I said, I found it difficult after I left Cardiff to try and find a club. I kind of messed up. So then it was, when I went to Australia, then I loved Australia. It was, they loved their football over there. It was growing. But again, the foreign move was difficult. I was only 19. Would I have liked to have stayed? Yeah, I would have. But the coach got sacked, which meant all the British boys that he had as the foreigners all got swiped out as well. And then it's one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. So obviously I did the year in Australia, came back, and then I was going to be even more difficult to find a club after being out of sight. And then a call came up to go to Belgium, and I was like, well, I want to keep playing, so it makes sense. Okay, yeah, so I went. It was like a feeder club. Then the Thailand thing came through a good friend of mine that was in Cardiff City youth system. He was a scholarship. He was a scholar. After his scholarship, then he left to move to Thailand, half Thai, half Welsh, Mika Chononsi. And he just called me saying, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I want to keep playing. I'm not sure yet." I was playing for Telford at the time, I think it was, in the conference. So I was enjoying in the conference. I was only 21, playing in the conference level. And then, it just intrigued me to go try Asia, to be honest with you. I never planned to be the journeyman and try this country, try that country. But it's looking back now, I'm grateful for all the experiences that I've had. Not many people will be able to say at the end of their careers that they've played in all these countries. So I kind of look at it from that standpoint. Obviously, it would have, if I went right back to Cardiff, obviously you'd like your career to be different, because when you're a kid, growing up, I wanted, Cardiff was the team I supported. I would have loved to have had a career there. But I was just, I was still happy that I made my debut and came through as a pro. And then I look at it in a different standpoint then, as in, I've managed to travel all these countries, had to learn different languages, the experiences that I've got, the people that I've met along the way. I'm grateful for it, to be honest.
You know what? I've always wondered with a lot of football players, especially the likes of Robbie Fowler, if I use him as well. And there's a few other football names that I can't really think of the top of my head at the moment, but I'll try and use Robbie Fowler at the moment. But it's like you look at him, and I thought at that time, I thought he's going to do wonders for Cardiff when he signed for him, and obviously it didn't turn out that way. And then he went on the path and he went to Blackburn, but he went to lower league clubs, and then he went to foreign clubs. And a lot of people can look at that and think, well, that's a bit of a downgrade, because he went to, he made a name for himself in Australia, because he was doing well. But a lot of, like you say, a lot of British fans don't look at it like that. Just think, oh, that's a bit of a downturn for you.
Yeah.
And then he went to Thailand, became manager there. That was a bit random. I remember just looking at the article and thinking, freaking hell has he done? But for someone like you, for a young player, I mean, you say it yourself, you learn the languages, it's like a life experience, and it's a big opportunity just to play across clubs, and you can look back and in years to come, you could tell like your grandkids or something like that to say, well, I played here, I played there, and I had a wicked time in my life,
Yeah.
But the important question is, sorry if I was going to cut you off then, but what is the fans system? What is the support system like, and what is the best one that you've seen?
Across all the countries that I've been?
Yeah.
Obviously back home in Cardiff, obviously, yeah, hands down, no doubt. But that's one thing that I was going to go on to as well about playing wise in the different countries. Obviously, every country that I've been is different styles as well. So coming away from when I was playing, obviously, conference with Wrexham and Telford, and I was going to Thailand, and then the humidity, the heat's like 35, 40 degrees. The humidity's insane, so you're soaking. You can't go and press. You can't have a high intensity game. Teams drop off, so then you've got to be comfortable on the ball. Might have a bit more time on the ball in certain areas of the field. So it was getting used to it. It was completely different to get used to. So at the time, I was playing more of a wing as a forward, and I was having to be patient for the ball to come up to me, and the boys were just knocking the ball around at the back. Whereas back home, when I was playing, it was like a couple of passes, long ball, end to end. It was just not the same. So that took a lot to get used to. Fans in Thailand's good, especially the top level. They love the football over there in Asia. Insane, like. Even when I was in Bangladesh, and then we managed to, because we won the league. That was a random one. When I moved to Bangladesh, it was through an English boy that I played against in Thailand. He'd moved to Bangladesh, and then I was back home playing for Merthyr, trying to come to America, and he just called me out of the blue saying, what are you up to? I was like, I'm coaching and playing for Merthyr, trying to get to America in January time. This was like October or September time. And he was like, well, we need a foreign player for 3 months of the season. We're currently second in the league. We need to finish top. Do you want to come? And I decided to take the chance, take another risk, and go for it. And that was an eye-opener, obviously, living there, third world country. But we managed to go to India, which again, they love the fans. There was huge crowds when we played there in the AFC Cup. Australia was good, certain places. And here, like I told you, it's getting bigger and bigger. Even our league, that's what I think about when I was playing in the conference. We're getting more fans here playing in our league, probably as big as, if not bigger, most places than League Two. Getting like 5,000-6,000. Some places will go and there'll be 10,000. Last year when we played Indianapolis, there was like 22,000. So it's growing for sure.
Yeah. One club I want to mention, and it has to be what really stood out for me, because around the time period of this club, just on the brink of extinction, was Hereford United, because you went there, and I looked at the seasons. Now, sometimes the stuff you were telling me, I'm thinking, this is it on Wikipedia, and that's why I wasn't going to believe it until I asked you the questions. And it's like Hereford at the time, and a friend of mine, Gareth, who I went to university with, he's a diehard Hereford fan, and he was telling me all these things and everything. And I thought, well, I got to get to the bottom of this. So just for your question, when you went to Hereford, what was the politics like, but what was the football like at the same time for you, playing for a club like Hereford?
Yeah, no, when I signed for Hereford, it was the year after I'd just been in Thailand. And I found the first year when I went to Thailand, so that would have been 2012, I found it difficult because I was out in the sticks, 3.5 hours outside of Bangkok, the team I signed for. I was living with a Korean guy. He didn't speak any English. He didn't speak any Thai. So I was trying to learn Thai. So where we lived, there was not many people that spoke English. So I had to try and pick up Thai. Was having to call Mika, my friend that was playing in Bangkok. How do I order chicken rice or whatever it was, vegetables. So I learned that. Then I was having to teach the Korean guy then in the nighttime English, so then we could communicate and help him out at the same time. But I found it tough. And then when a chance came back to move to Hereford, Martin Foyle was the gaffer at the time, and he remembered me from when I was at Wrexham. I can't remember who he was managing at the time, but I played against him, and he liked me. So then I signed, and I was like, yeah, that appeals to me. Hereford is close to home. For one, it's playing in the conference. It's a big club. They just got relegated from League Two. That's a club that I could go there and see myself playing for many years. Good fan base. And then I went in, really enjoyed it. The first 6 months was awesome. We didn't start off brilliant, but then we were close to the playoffs. only a few points off it. And then I remember January time, we were playing Luton Town away a couple of days before it, and our pay was meant to go into our accounts. And we all came into the locker room in the morning, and everybody only had like 50% pay. So we were all talking about it, and then we had to have a meetings, and the board was struggling for money. Then we went to Luton. We got hammered by Luton on the Saturday because we had a red card early doors, but everyone's heads were all over the shop as well. Then they were telling us that everything was going to get sorted. The next pay, again, there was only 50% or even less, I think it was. So then boys just started to panic because people had mortgages. Obviously, we're not making big money at that level. Yeah. People had mortgages, kids, etc. We managed to get a meeting with the owner. Obviously, Martin Foyle, the gaffer, and the assistant coach were just telling us as much as they could at the time. I think they decided to leave their wages to help out with the players' wages to give us what they could. Then we managed to get the owner in the room. And because I think this was like 3 months later, so obviously results were slipping off. Boys were struggling to get into training because obviously we were paying petrol every day, traveling back and forth. People were struggling with rent. We had boys traveling from Liverpool, which is a long way. So petrol, you can imagine petrol back home every single day. We got the owner in the room, and the more senior boys at the time, like basically. Called them out on a few things and needed to know everything. And their answers were basically that they had budgeted that we were gonna do well in the FA Cup, so they were gonna get money. They had budgeted for 1,000 more fans a game than what they had this previous season, which we didn't understand. We were like, you're budgeting on everything like ifs and buts. So there's no idea. You got no idea if you're gonna get 1,000 more fans than you did last year. So why would you do that in the first place? You're budgeting with the FA Cup run, where who knows who we're going to draw. We ended up drawing. We got through one tie. We ended up drawing to Burton Albion. We lost. So you can't. They were promising stuff, or they were planning stuff, which is a bad idea in terms of what ifs. And then he was basically, the owner basically got our wages stopped. I think at the time we managed to get in contact with the PFA, so we weren't getting paid. So then the head coach was. And the assistant coach, they had a meeting with us and they said, look, we can go part-time just so you lot can afford to come in and we can manage it. So at the time we were doing like Tuesday, Thursday, I think it was, playing on Tuesday, just training on Thursday. Then the gaffer, Martin Foyle, and his assistant left. They promoted Peter Beadle from the youth team up with Steve Jenkins, Welsh guy.
I had him on the show, I did, and he was saying, it was a big up in the air moment, you know.
Yeah, it was. Well, those two came in and were great. It was crazy because obviously we were fighting relegation then because we dropped off so much with going part-time and not training enough and boys' heads all over the shop not getting paid. The PFA helped out, which was great of them. And Beads and Steve came in and they were a breath of fresh air. Jared Bowen, they promoted Jared Bowen into the team at the time. He was coming off the bench and that, and you could just see he had some ability. And then we got into the later stage of the season and we were fighting relegation. I just remember it, the last game of the season, we were playing Aldershot away. We had to win, and I think it was Chester. All Chester needed to do was win. We were losing, or we were drawing with like 2 minutes to go. We ended up scoring. We didn't really celebrate because we knew the result from Aldershot. From Chester, they were drawing or losing, whichever one it was. And as we were walking back to the halfway line, our fans started going crazy. And then we realised the message got on then from the sideline, from the coach, that the team that Chester were playing had scored, Chester were losing. And it was like a minute to go. Our game finished, and then we were waiting on news, and then we found out Chester had lost, and then we started going crazy. We'd survived in the league. We thought everything would get sorted then because we'd stayed up. So then, we'd go again. The owner would either step aside for new owners to come in, which there was. Apparently, people wanted to come in with money. But he still had a tax bill to pay. We went off in that off-season, spoke to Jenks, spoke to Beadle. They wanted me back, and I loved it there. Like I said, I loved the fans. It was close to home. I could have seen myself staying there for a long time. And then, I can't remember how long after that end of the season, but we had the call. Basically, they hadn't paid the tax bill, and then they got thrown out of the league, right to the bottom of the pyramid. So again, that was another one where I was like, what do I do now? one of those moments. And then the Thailand thing popped up again, which is why I went back to Thailand just to keep playing, because otherwise, obviously, I didn't want to drop to going part-time when I was playing full-time. I was 23, 24, and I still felt I had all my best years ahead of me. I just wanted to keep going, wherever it took me, whether it was Thailand, Belgium, wherever. I just wanted to keep playing, keep pushing, and just see where I ended up. Yeah.
Let's go on. Yeah, let's. Do you know that is absolutely mad? You know, for you to say, you know, what went on it with Hereford and that, and I got a lot of respect for Hereford. You know, I mean, my mate Gareth, like I said, you know, being a diehard Hereford fan, he would tell me all the history and everything, and I just think that's why I love falling in love with football so much, because of the history and everything. But the one thing I always wanted to ask you, and we're going to go into Wales now, and you know, Wales into 21 international, you know, played in under 17, 19. For you to be playing for Wales, that must be so. It doesn't matter what squad it is, but to play for Wales, that must be a huge honour for you to actually.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, representing the country was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Gutted, obviously, I didn't make it past the 21s into the senior team. I think maybe if I did have a club, if I had moved to Australia and whatnot, because I was only 18, 19, that could have happened. But no, looking back at the memories and stuff through the Victory Shield squad, which we won that year, coming through with like Aaron Ramsey, and then the 17s with the players we had, Bale, Gunter, Joe Allen, and then into the 21s, and the 21 squad we had was that year was, I was obviously, there was a few of us that were playing up a few ages, but when it all came together, the squad we had, and we ended up losing to England in the playoff game. But yeah, man, it was a amazing experience representing the country, playing with the players, like I said, having Brian Flynn and Alan Curtis coach you, obviously two legends. No, it was it was an amazing honour to represent Wales.
Do you keep in contact with any of your fellow Welsh teammates at all?
Yeah, there's a few. Obviously, Mika was in that system as well, up to under 17s, but he's gone on to represent Thailand. Me and him are really close because he's from Bridgend as well. So we used to travel into Cardiff together every day as a scholar and younger. Chris Gunter, who's obviously today, he's just signed for Charlton.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm so happy for him. Gunter.
Yeah, glad that he's got a club now. His family, my family are close. Aaron, obviously. But he's obviously super busy.
Mega superstar.
Another one is a little bit that I spoke to is Jack Collison.
Oh yeah.
He's moved to America, so we were meshing a little bit when he moved. He's in Atlanta in the academy there. Andy King a little bit. Yeah, it's been if I bumped into them, obviously, it's one of those when you get older, you go your separate ways and stuff. But no, it was a great bunch of boys, the ones that played there.
Do you know, with just going back with Oklahoma then, obviously the one thing I love about what I looked into Oklahoma is the home shirt, man. Whoa, what a home shirt that is.
This one?
Oh, it's quality. It is fair play, man. With Oklahoma then, of course, with the structure and everything going, and I've seen some of the appearances on videos on YouTube and everything, and quality football. I know the free kick you scored. I mean, flipping heck, he still got it. But is there anyone that you keep you're close with? One of the teammates you're close with at Oklahoma?
Yeah, so there's an English boy here, Charlie Ward. He was at Stoke, Aston Villa as a youth player. Moved to Stoke. He was on the bench in the Premier League back home for quite a bit. And then he signed for Houston Dynamo in the MLS. Didn't play much under Owen Coyle, and then he's been in the USL Championship then for about 4 or 5 years. He only signed this year. Me and him are obviously close, like relating to back home. There's the goalkeeper here, Cody Lorendi. He's from Florida, but he's been here from the start. He's been here since 2016. I joined obviously 2017, so me and him have known each other for a long time. Great lads. So yeah, so I suppose it's more of the ones that have been here for longer, and then the ones obviously now around the same age as me, that I click with. Cody, go for coffees and do stuff together. So yeah.
Let's go on to Cardiff. We never mentioned Cardiff. I was going to point. I mean, I know we mentioned them a few times, but you've been with them, you know, plus youth career and senior. It was just roughly nearly 10 years or so. around about the time you were playing, around about in your senior career, where Cardiff were going on to, get into the FA Cup final and everything. What was that like for you to be part of that club and that team where, I know you didn't appear in the FA Cup, but what was it like just to be part of that and just to experience you seeing some of the players?
Yeah, it was insane because obviously I'd come through the system since I was 12, I think it was, when I was in the academy. You could see what they were trying to do. I think it was when Sam Aman was there at the time. And he'd come to see the academy boys training and stuff, and you could see, they're taking an interest here. Maybe they're going to try and push a few players through. Before my time, obviously, Joe Ledley had come through, Joe Jacobson, Curtis McDonald had come through, had appearances. I think Jamal Easter maybe at the time had a couple. So you could definitely see when we were watching from the side, obviously a few years younger, you could definitely see, right, okay, there's going to be an opportunity here to play for the team you support. And then lucky enough, for me, I was doing well in the youth team. And then I started training with the first team. They called me up to train. It was me and Aaron, me and Rambo at the time were training with the first team. And then they offered him, myself, contracts. Darcy Blake, Chris Gunter at the time were already in the first team. And then, like the FA Cup run was obviously, at the time, I suppose when you're that young, because I would have been 17, 18, maybe 17. You're just going with things, so you're not overthinking things. You're just enjoying the moment, which is probably the best thing to do anyway. But now, when you're like older and you look back and you think, holy, like there was the FA Cup semi-final and final at Wembley. I was stood on Wembley pitch in my suit and family in the stands and stuff. Obviously, like you said, I wasn't on the bench, but I was in the 18-man squad. It was me and Darcy both in the stands at the time. But just to be a part of it, though, suited up, getting fitted, doing the photo shoots. I remember Steve Thompson did some song as well that got recorded. Just all the little things that were surrounding it. I remember training like the week leading up to the FA Cup final, like the press and the cameras and stuff that were videoing training and stuff. I'd never seen anything like it. It was a mad experience to be involved in. I loved it.
Do you keep in contact with Darcy Blake as well?
No. We were close at the time. We spoke a couple of years afterwards, but obviously I've gone off doing my own thing, and obviously, I think it was right after he joined Palace. We didn't really speak too much. No,
it was just the only reason is because with Darcy, with Darcy Blake, it was a bit of a mad one for him because obviously he went to Palace, he left Palace, he went to Newport, and then all of a sudden he started just to almost disappear. And I remember when they said Newport announced that he parted the club and everything for personal reasons, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope everything's all right with him and everything. And then I remember Barry were playing a Division 3 match. It was against Aberbargo Birds, but they were playing in Ystrad at the time. And we're in the stands, and it was me, Nick, and everything. We're all there, and the players are coming out and everything. All of a sudden, it was just big lad, just big rugby lad. Look, and me being a former Cardiff City fan, I just went, that's Darcy. That's Darcy. And Nick was like, and my mate Nick was just going, no, it's not. I was like, I'm telling you, it's Darcy Blake. I swear to you. And me being a football fanatic fan, Nick and everyone was there. He was like, all right, shout out to see if we can look you, if it is Darcy. I went, Darcy Blake. And he just turned around and went like that. And I went, freaking knew it. It's like, I told you. The stuff we've ripped into, I regret it, but some of the things that we were watching. But it was such a big moment as well, just to see Darcy play, because I don't think of Darcy as a career shattering or anything like that. It's his decision, whatever. But all I will never ever forget is that tackle he done on Wayne Rooney. That's the one thing I forget.
For me, Darcy's like ability-wise was at that age coming through with Cardiff was probably the best. It was just a shame that he didn't get the best out of his attributes and his talent. But he, good lad. Don't get me wrong, great. Me and Darcy get along very well. And ability-wise, like I said, he was both feet. He was athletic at the time. He was confident. He was. I think all he needed was his arm around his shoulder and to show him the right pathway, I suppose.
Yeah.
Great lad, great ability. It was just a shame really that he never fulfilled his. Saying that, obviously, like you said, he represented Wales did really well for Cardiff when he was there. And I remember that Wales England game. I think he had man of the match even, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And I remember, and I remember solely that the next Cardiff City match, there was because sometimes in match day programs you got the middle poster, and you flick through it, and it was Darcy Blake just giving that tackle and waving.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never forget it, and I used to collect autographs. I still do it if I do it or anything, but I remember all the kids, all of the fathers and everything, just autograph. When Darcy Blake came and they just flooded in, they all just pulled out that picture, and you could tell from his face he's thinking, yeah, that was okay, that was not too bad. And someone, I will never forget it, someone just said, I'm glad you, I won't repeat the word, but he said, I'm glad you nutted that. And Darcy went, yeah, all right, then. I thought, fair play to him, fair play. I forgot what I was going to say now. Flipping heck, so professional, me. But coming on to Wrexham, that I was going to say, because I can't not go through this podcast without mentioning Wrexham. You know, under Dean Saunders, what was he like just under that man?
Yeah, no, it was good because obviously at the time he was still assistant with Wales. So when Wales would have games, he'd have to leave Wrexham. The assistant at Wrexham would take over for those games that he was going to miss. And to have his experience, obviously, such a good player as well when he was playing in the Premier League back in the day. But his coaching-wise, he was very good. Some of the sessions he put on, I was like, yeah, this is good. This is and the intensity he demanded. At the time, obviously playing as a winger, when I was 18, he was giving me a load of tips in terms of whether it was delivery, whether it was me going as a forward, whatever it was. He'd work after training. Once training was done, he'd work with individuals or small groups. You could just tell the passion was there. He'd be joining in sometimes as a striker, doing finishing sessions and stuff. So no, it was good, and we went on a very good run when he first took over. I think it was like 15 unbeaten, and then we were like third or fourth in the league. We were catching Burton. We were working our way up. Burton were top at the time. There's only one get promoted automatically, and then we went to Burton away. And they ended up beating us, and then after that, because we had such a young squad, you could just tell it affected us, and we started dropping off, and we ended up missing out on the playoffs by a couple of spots. Finished like 8th. We had a really bad end of the season. But yeah, like I told you earlier, maybe looking back instead of moving to Australia, at the time, if I could do it all over again, I probably would. That's one maybe regret that I did have. As much as I enjoyed Australia, probably the best country that I've been to. Career-wise, would it have been more beneficial for me to have accepted the deal with Wrexham and stayed and played at 18, still 19, playing in the conference under Dean Saunders? Yeah, it probably would have been the right move to have made.
Any moment that sticks out for you as a footballer, that sticks out, whether it be a funny moment or a highest achieved moment? Is there a specific moment for you that stands out?
Yeah, probably my debut for Cardiff.
Of course.
And actually, yeah. Coventry away in the Championship. Yeah, I was 17, 18. My parents decided to go to the game because I was the first time I was on the bench. I think it was the first time I was on the bench. And then I think it was 0-0 or 1-1. I only came on for 5 minutes at the end. But those 5 minutes, like playing in front of my parents and then clapping them at the end, I could spot them in the crowd when I was warming up. And then at the end, obviously, when we went over to applaud our fans. And then the jersey after in the game, took my kitman, gave me a fresh jersey. Went and got it all signed by the players, Dave Jones, everybody signed it. So that was probably the proudest moment. Yeah, make my debut. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. So, yeah.
Final question for you, and it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, especially, coming from the States and everything.
Oh, my pleasure. You're welcome.
No worries. How do you look back so far on your career?
I don't like to look back too much, to be honest with you. I only do it with certain things like this when I've got to do interviews or podcasts or people ask, because I'm still playing, so I still want to keep looking in the now.
Yeah.
Focusing on the now and where I am in Oklahoma. And moving forward, like I said, I want to try and keep playing as long as I can and try and win stuff. But no, I suppose I would say still proud because obviously I've managed to keep playing pro, which is it's not an easy thing to do. And then just looking at it back with experience-wise, like I told you about all the experiences that I've had moving around all the countries that I've played in, 7 or 8, I think it is. The cultures that I've experienced, Obviously, one of the biggest dreams for mine was to play for Cardiff, and managed to do that. Obviously, would have liked it to have been longer, but it's still something that I did. Like you just spoke about earlier, represented my country, even though it wasn't senior level up to 21s. So yeah, hopefully in years to come, when I do look back, I'll be like, yeah, I've made the most out of what I had. Where there's certain elements out of my control, stuff that happened to Hereford after I left Cardiff, where I wasn't able to get a club or whatever it was, that dictated where I went. Yeah, but I think I made the most out of working hard, practicing, trying to get better and better, and just I'll just proud and grateful for the experiences I've had. I think is the main one.
Well, John, thank you so much for coming on the Dragons Voice podcast to talk about your career so far, and I wish you all the very best with Oklahoma Energy FC. And you know what, I think Oklahoma Energy FC have got themselves a Welsh football fan now. I'm going to keep an eye on them now. So fair play. That was your fault.
No, I appreciate you having me on, mate, and hopefully one day we can do it again.
Oh no, do you know what? Definitely do it again, and hopefully I get to see you playing for Pen and Bond, but all in good time, as I always say. So thank you. So
we'll see.
Yeah, no. So guys, that was it. That was Jonathan Brown on the Dragons Voice podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it so much. And I promise I'll get you so many more guests in the future. There's more to come here, and with Dragons Voice podcast, because we're starting out fresh. You know, just like, share, subscribe all the videos, just share them, just follow the channel. We've got to get that subscription up and running, and hopefully, because we break through America, here we go. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Three Weeks Things, and I'll see you all very soon. Come on, Wales as well.
Good.